Hello, my lovable friends. I hope everything is going great on your side. In today's class, we're going to continue our discussion about different kinds of essay types that you should be prepared for in order to perform well on the day of examination. Because as far as you're completely well prepared for all types of essays, you will be definitely good to go. So here we go with today's essay type, which is a problem and solution one. So before getting into that, I would like to ask you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and please smash that like button if you are getting some value out of today's class. Okay, so let's see what exactly we mean by problem and solution essay. Let's talk about this essay. The language that we use for part 3 speaking is really the same as the language we use for the essay. Cause and effect, comparison, conditionals. So that means that we need to go for these kind of structures. The introduction part would be like this. Your first sentence is going to be a context. There are two ways you can do this. You can present the problem in the context. For example, nowadays, traffic in cities is becoming a serious problem. Nowadays, in recent times, the number of vehicles in cities has increased tremendously. So that is the context that I'm giving and providing to my examiner or reader. As a result, the pollution from these vehicles is causing a serious problem. This problem is leading to respiratory illness for urban residents and visitors. So take a look how beautifully you can design your introduction about a problem and solution essay. If you tell the reader your introduction, you will bring up a problem. The reader will expect that you will be explaining the problem, and then they need you to give some solutions to solve the problem. So that is a win-win situation, isn't it? So a problem, a solution. The other problem, the other solution. So this is the best place in order to go for conditional structures, because not only that is very natural to be used, but also it actually increases your score if it is used correctly in the section which is related to grammar. So if A, then B. For example, if the government invests in public transportation, then pollution level will decline. The next one, B, if A. So here we go with the exchange of these two phrases, but pay attention because there is a very slight and yet important point to be considered. Pollution level will decline. There's no comma any further. Why? Because we haven't started this sentence with an if clause. So we do not need a comma. If the government invests in public transportation. Unless A, not B. Unless means if not. So unless governments invest in public transportation, there won't be a reduction in pollution. Not A, unless B. So again, we've got the exchange between these two phrases. There won't be a reduction in pollution unless governments invest in public transportation. So there we go with different types of conditional structures that you can use and utilize in your introduction part. Let's move on and talk about the body paragraphs. So the first structure, problem 1, problem 2, and the second body paragraph, two solutions. Solution 1, solution 2. So it is one format. So what I'm saying is that you need to have two body paragraphs. The first body paragraph will be dedicated to two problems, and the second body paragraph will be allocated for the two logical solutions. Let's move on and talk about another format that you can go for. The second structure. You can go for a problem and immediately you can provide a solution. So a problem and a solution in the first body paragraph, while the second body paragraph will be somehow related to the second problem and the given solution. Let's see how we can conclude this essay. Given the context, summarize what the problem is and what the solutions are. if you want or if you have time, you can make a prediction. So it is an option, okay? So if you do not have time, or if you are, somehow anxious and you do not want to just go for another step, just skip it. But as far as you're good to go and you've got time, you can make a prediction as well. So in your conclusion, you are very much going to be repeating what you said in the introduction, exactly like the previous ones. So we have the items that we have already mentioned in the introduction, but the key element to be remembered is the art of paraphrasing. Remind the reader of the problem. Remind the reader of the solutions you suggested. And if you want, if you have time, give a prediction. So let's see how we can do that, for example. In conclusion, the large number of vehicles are reducing people's mental and physical health. Governments should or ought to or need to spend more money on public transportation, and people must actually use them. Unless people take the environment more seriously and governments start investing in this problem, it is likely that we won't see any reduction in this issue. So as you can see, we have exactly used one of the structures that we previously talked. Unless blah, 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 something won't happen. So you can see a 4-sentence conclusion, a context, a problem, and solution, and a prediction. So the sentence that starts with unless is the one relates to prediction part. Okay guys, so let's take a look at a very good sample in order to understand how we should structure our essay in practice. The question goes like this. The gap between the rich and the poor is increasingly wide as rich people become richer and poor people grow poorer. What problems could this situation cause, and what are the solutions to address those problems? So as you can see, we've got 2 questions, one of which is asking about the problems, and the other one is posing the question about solutions. So let's get started and see how the essay will go forward. The first the first paragraph is our introduction. It is true that the gap between the rich and the poor is growing wider in many regions of the world. So as you can see, it's a context or a background sentence, or simply we are trying to say exactly what this essay is about, or paraphrase the statement in the question. While the problems that result are complex, fundamental solutions based on expanding education should be adopted to tackle this problem. So exactly we are talking about those 2 questions, but we haven't mentioned the keywords here. We're just providing the introductory part. Let's move on and talk about the next paragraph, which is our first body paragraph. Remember, there are 2 styles that you can base your writing an essay, Remember that there are 2 kind of different styles that you can structure and form your body paragraphs based on. So the first one is talking about the problems in the body paragraph one and writing about the solutions in the second body paragraph. Or you can also go for the second side, which is the first body paragraph will be dedicated to a problem and a solution, and the second body paragraph will be invested in the second problem and the second solution accordingly. So it's up to you, and there is no difference as far as you just try to go for them logically, you're good to go. So let's take a look at the body paragraph 1 here. Increasing the levels of poverty and rising wealth inequalities impact on the economic growth of a country and the security of its citizens. In economic terms, the existence of a large mass of unemployed or low-paid workers directly affects domestic businesses, such as local shops and factories. As nobody has money to buy their products, they are themselves forced to close, creating further unemployment. In terms of public security, without the means of obtaining money through work, the poor may turn to crimes such as drug trafficking, prostitution, robbery, and violent attacks on others. Youth unemployment has, in particular, been linked with rising crime rates. So as you can see here, we are talking about problems, and you can detect those beautiful and useful and less common vocabulary which are completely related to the topic. So in economic terms, it means from the economic point of view, unemployed or low-paid workers, such as in terms of public security. So you can say regarding, these are different kinds of phrases that can be used. And the last one is in particular, that can be used like for instance or for example. Let's move on and talk about the second body paragraph that will be related to the solutions. Governments must therefore expand educational opportunities to benefit all their citizens in order to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. The provision of a better standard of schooling in slum areas of cities and in poor rural regions would enable children to reach a higher level of educational attainment. Grants and scholarship could be used to help students to remain in education for longer and gain qualifications. In particular, technical education could be expanded, helping poor children to learn trades in construction, engineering, and agriculture. A highly educated workforce will be needed in the future, and skilled workers will be able to command high salaries and enjoy a decent standard of living. As work opportunities improve, crime rates will fall. So as you can see, we are talking about solutions and different kinds of remedies that can be offered in order to tackle the given problems. So very beautiful structures and phrases have been used here. Different kinds of linking devices like therefore, in order to, in particular, thus, or other actually important things like will be able to, could be. We are trying to use passive here. So the last things that I want to mention is about phrases. Command high salaries, enjoy a decent standard of living. These are just examples, but the paragraph is filled with less common vocabulary, which are completely topic-based. So let's move on and talk about the last paragraph, that is our conclusion. Thus, dealing with the problem at its roots. By expanding educational opportunities, the authorities would be able to reduce the gap between the wealthy and poor sectors of society. So as you can see, we are trying to wrap everything up. We are just restating the introduction part. Let's see what the examiner has to tell us about this person's essay. Task response. This essay meets most of the criteria for a high band score. I would characterize your response as well developed with relevant, extended, and supported ideas, which are very important in order to qualify a high band score. Correctly, you did not try to discuss too many reasons for the problem. You focus on two important reasons in paragraph 2. So that is very important because sometimes students will go for listing items and that is a failure because you cannot go for their expansion and you're just naming them, which is not our purpose. We want very limited items but with the best explanation and expansion. So let's move on and talk about coherence and cohesion and see what the score will be like in this section. As always, you provided a well-organized essay. The logical paragraph structure is supported by precise topic sentences and clearly identified arguments. Sentences were well linked. So different kinds of structures and linking devices that we talked, like thus, like in order to, like in conclusion, and many other things. Lexical resource. What about the vocabulary this person has used? There are some excellent vocabulary too, increasing levels of poverty and rising wealth inequalities, impact on the economic growth of the country and the security of its citizens. The poor may turn to crimes such as drug trafficking, prostitution, robbery, and violent attacks on others. So as you can see, all the vocabulary used is linked to the topic, which is about crime. And the last item that has to be discussed is grammatical range and accuracy. As with lexis, this area of your writing is strong. There is no problem with the range of grammar structures. We have seen a wide variety of grammatical points, which included a second conditional sentence, relative clauses, and a consistently correct use of modal auxiliary verbs, something like will, can, these things. So as you can conclude, this essay was a very nice one, and this one has the potentials to get a very high band score. So I hope you've learned a lot of important things and useful items from today's class. Please do not forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel in order to see more of these kind of videos and clips and classes. Thank you for your participation and thanks for watching. Bye!